There are those WWE pay-per-view events that are known for all the wrong reasons. These pay-per-view events are known for either a ton of injuries taking place on the show itself or real-world events impacting WWE's plans for the show, so WWE are forced to improvise and put together a completely random pay-per-view. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at 10 WWE pay-per-view events that were cursed. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Also check out our new channel, Wrestlelamia Shorts. Number 10, TLC 2017. Just 2 days before the 2017 TLC pay-per-view, WWE was sent into a tailspin when it was revealed that two of WWE's top stars, Roman Reigns and Bray Wyatt, were pulled from the pay-per-view card due to a viral infection. This was problematic as Reigns was set to be in the main event teaming with his Shield teammates to take on The Miz, Braun Strowman, Kane, and The Bar. In relation to Wyatt, he was supposed to take on the guise of Sister Abigail to take on the demon version of Finn Balor. The WWE deserves a ton of credit for how they handled this setback, and fans certainly got a treat with WWE's alternative booking plan. Reigns would be replaced by the legendary Kurt Angle, who would compete in his first WWE match since 2006. In relation to Balor, he would now wrestle SmackDown star AJ Styles in an acclaimed and certified dream match. WWE made the best out of a bad situation, which can't be said for every pay-per-view named in this list. Number 9, Survivor Series War Games 2022. The WWE debuted the War Games concept on the main roster in 2022, and whilst the matches were well received, the match was responsible for a number of injuries. During the main event matchup, WWE's top guy Roman Reigns hurt his eardrum, and the exact same injury was suffered by Drew McIntyre. Another injury was suffered by Jimmy Uso, and it was believed he suffered a hand injury. Thankfully, none of the injuries mentioned were overly serious, but it highlighted how the War Games concept isn't for the faint of heart. Number 8, WrestleMania 32. WrestleMania 32 was set to be a huge pay-per-view for WWE, but during the months leading up to the event, numerous top stars would get injured, which led to fans assuming that the pay-per-view event was doomed. This all began in November of 2015 when reigning WWE champion Seth Rollins suffered a serious knee injury. This forced Rollins to surrender the WWE title, and he would subsequently no longer factor into WrestleMania 32 plans. Other injuries occurred to the likes of Randy Orton, Cesaro, Neville, and Luke Harper, all of whom were set to be featured in roles on the grandest stage. One of the biggest injuries that doomed the event was to John Cena. Cena suffered a shoulder injury in January of 2016, which meant that he wouldn't be able to have a pre-advertised matchup on the show. It was rumored at the time that WWE were planning a Cena vs Undertaker dream match, but this was eventually cancelled, and they went for a match between a returning Shane McMahon and the Dead Man. It was also rumored that an ongoing back injury that Bray Wyatt was suffering from led to WWE changing his creative direction. Initial plans called him to face off against Brock Lesnar, but this was eventually changed to Lesnar vs Dean Ambrose, and Wyatt would no longer have a featured match booked on the show. Instead, Wyatt would be involved in a segment with The Rock and John Cena, which eventually led to The Rock facing Wyatt family member Eric Rowan. Number 7, No Mercy 2007. By October 2007, WWE's entire brand revolved around John Cena. That meant that if Cena went down with an injury, WWE went into panic mode as they truly relied on Cena to steer the ship. The original planned main event for No Mercy 2007 was a last man standing match between WWE champion Cena and Randy Orton. However, on the Raw before the pay-per-view, Cena suffered a right pectoral muscle tear, putting him on the shelf with immediate effect. This put WWE in a weird position, and they decided to book one of the most unusual pay-per-view events of all time. The pay-per-view itself opened up with Vince McMahon awarding Orton with the WWE title. Triple H would then interrupt and challenge Orton to an impromptu WWE title match, which the game won. Triple H's scheduled match with Umaga would now be for the WWE title, in which the game would once again come out victorious. The planned main event would swap out Cena in favor of the game, and Orton would finally defeat Triple H in a last man standing match to close out No Mercy 2007 with championship gold. Number 6, Royal Rumble 2023. Following the acclaimed Royal Rumble pay-per-view 2023 coming off the air, numerous reports surfaced in relation to the sheer amount of injuries that had taken place at the event. The first report was that the Women's Royal Rumble winner Rhea Ripley had dislocated her knee in the match and had legitimately put it back into place in order to finish the match. Another injury took place when Asuka kicked Sonya Deville right in the head, and this meant that Deville needed medical assistance. An injury also occurred to WWE producer Kenny Dykstra, who hurt his leg during the brawl between Edge and the Judgment Day faction. The final injury occurred to the Men's Royal Rumble winner Cody Rhodes, who hurt his eardrum during the Rumble match, but thankfully this didn't lead to the American Nightmare taking any time away from WWE TV. Number 5. WrestleMania 38. WrestleMania 38 got off to a terrible start as Rick Boogs tore his quad. This is one of the most serious injuries a wrestler can suffer, and thankfully Boogs was able to recover, but it sadly left a negative mark on WrestleMania's opening contest. Another injury was suffered by AJ Styles, who walked into the WrestleMania sign on the stage, which gave him a deep laceration and led to fans wondering why AJ was bleeding before any physicality had even commenced. Bianca Belair suffered a black eye due to a botched senton in a match with Becky Lynch, and in the main event it was believed that Roman Reigns was forced to put his shoulder back into place to safely finish his match with Brock Lesnar. A controversial injury also allegedly occurred to a fan, and it led to an actual lawsuit. Marvin Jackson filed a lawsuit against WWE on January 12, 2023, and he alleged that he lost hearing in his left ear at WrestleMania 38 in Dallas due to pyrotechnics. As things stand, there's no update in relation to the validity of Jackson's claims. Number 4. New Year's Revolution 2005. The inaugural New Year's Revolution pay-per-view looked doomed to fail. The opening match featured Eugene teaming with William Regal to take on Christian and Tyson Tomko. During the match, Eugene would perform a standard dropkick on Tomko, and this was when Eugene grabbed his knee in anguish. Eugene had suffered a serious knee injury and would be on the shelf for 6 whole months. The match was changed on the fly, with Eugene performing a roll-up on Tomko to win the match. But things went from bad to worse for WWE in the next match as another major injury occurred. Lita tore her ACL in a featured match with Trish Stratus, which once again forced the wrestlers to call an audible and change the match finish. Luckily, that was the end of the injuries at the event, but this was certainly an unusual sight to see consecutive injuries on a WWE pay-per-view. Number 3. Over the Limit 2010. This pay-per-view featured some of the biggest names in WWE history. Sadly, the pay-per-view was truly cursed with injury after injury. The injuries began during the second match on the show when Ted DiBiase Jr. suffered a serious concussion during his match with R-Truth. Then, during the Rey Mysterio vs CM Punk matchup, Punk had suffered a deep cut which required 13 stitches to close. In one of the biggest matches of the show, Randy Orton suffered a shoulder injury during his match with Edge, and this forced the two WWE greats to change the match on the fly and create a new finish which would allow Orton to receive medical attention. Finally, in the last man standing match between Batista and John Cena, Batista suffered a back injury while Cena suffered a deep laceration and even lost a tooth. It was a busy night for WWE's medical team. Number 2. The Great American Bash 2006. WWE had their work cut out with the Great American Bash pay-per-view, as a total of 4 matches had to be changed or cancelled. The Great Khali was supposed to collide with The Undertaker inside the Punjabi prison, but due to elevated enzymes in his liver, he was pulled from the pay-per-view. In his place would be the Big Show, which made for a better match, but there was no established story between the Dead Man and the Big Show, so the match suffered as a result. Bobby Lashley was set to face Finlay in a US title match, but Lashley was pulled for the same reason as Khali, meaning Finlay was replaced by William Regal. Another match pulled from the show was Super Crazy set to challenge Gregory Helms for the Cruiserweight title. Super Crazy was pulled due to the enzyme issue and was replaced by Matt Hardy. And finally, Mark Henry was also scheduled to compete against Batista in a grudge match, however he ruptured his patella tendon and dislocated his kneecap, meaning he would be replaced by Mr. Kennedy. And number 1, WrestleMania 36. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic greatly changed how WWE conducted their business. Due to the pandemic, WWE were forced to move their biggest show of the year, WrestleMania 36, to the Performance Center. And what was crazy about this was that it was set to take place in front of 0 fans. The pay-per-view was pre-recorded, meaning spoilers began to leak online, which didn't exactly make for compelling viewing. In relation to the pay-per-view taking place in front of no fans, this was insanely awkward as a viewer, and it must have been incredibly frustrating for WWE talent who were getting set to perform in front of 80,000 plus people. If this wasn't bad enough for WWE, one of their biggest matches had to be cancelled as Roman Reigns opted out of WrestleMania 36 due to safety concerns. Reigns was eventually replaced by Braun Strowman, who went one-on-one with Goldberg for the Universal title. It was a bizarre show that seemed to suffer from endless setbacks, but WWE did the best they could with the pay-per-view, and although it's hard to rewatch, the WrestleMania with 0 fans in attendance is always going to be a talking point for decades to come. But there you have it folks, 10 WWE pay-per-view events that were cursed. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.